Thank you. Well, just to make it clear, he's not my bio brother. We're community brother and sister. I feel like the luckiest person in the world, and I bet you guys can get that. Like, lucky me. I get to sit up here with these two wizards and ask them questions and talk about things I've always wanted to ask them. And I mean, I just feel like it's such a great blessing for all of us, but I get the seat to ask what I want to ask. So thank you. Thank you for inviting me into this conversation. So what I really feel like we need to raise up is suffering. We seem to be really loving the idea of one with God. I love that too. And that's our goal. That sustains us. That's the beauty of life that we are aiming for, is this one. But as we all know in this room, if we don't tend to our wounds, it's hard to one. And honestly, when we one without tending to our wounds, it's got a name. It's called spiritual bypass. It skips over what we are carrying with us. So we still become triggered by something that is haunting us from our family dynamics, from something we endured in our life story. And so I feel like I'd like to engage with these two brilliant teachers, because they both are so open about the wounds that they have endured, particularly Jim's childhood trauma. If you've read The Healing Path, it's just so heartbreaking and incredible to think of what he's endured and how it has created him to be this magnificent being that we get to sit here with. But it's been a hard road, and there was a lot of work that goes into that. And I just feel like, and then Mirabai has been so open about so much loss that she's had to go through and the grieving process. So I feel that even though this is a symposium about mysticism, it feels, I spend my days with suffering, and it's not necessarily an easy place to go, obviously, into prisons and sit with. Right now I'm working with men at California Men's Colony, just up at San Luis Obispo. But honestly, it's just such an honor to go into healing, transformational work with people who are ready to do that. And so I just would love to not avoid it, but to open that conversation. Are we okay with that? Okay, so I guess I should kind of make a question out of it. The way I started in the prison is I started by using the Adverse Childhood Experiences, the ACEs questionnaire, which is 10 questions that have to do with, were your parents divorced? Was one of your parents alcoholic? Were you ever sexually inappropriately assaulted or touched? This all is before you're 18. So you start to get a glimpse, and what they have found through the ACEs is that if you're a 4 out of 10, your percentage of likelihood of getting COPD, heart disease, asthma, all these other chronic issues goes way up. So the men I work with, there's another 10 questions that have to do with extreme racism, violence. The men I work with are like 18 out of 20, the amount of adversity that they've had to approach. But it's a good starting point to understand what someone has gone through, and they're starting to understand how that impacted their life and the choices that they made and the behaviors that they have. So, do you want me to ask a question, or are you good with that? Not my profession. Okay, questions.
You want to start? Well, so want me to start?
She hasn't asked the question yet.
Go ahead. Ask a question.
Okay, let's see. What do you think is important on the healing path that would benefit these people to hear about on your journey of healing? What was significant in reckoning with or excavating the trauma that you endured?
Well, for me personally, I put this in the book, is all this violence was going on, violent alcoholic father, toward me and my mother, my siblings. And my mother was a devout Catholic. And I could tell it was her faith that held her together. And she would take us to Mass on Sunday and us just to pray to God for the strength to get through the things that happen when Daddy gets mad. That's the way she puts it. And so for me, what it was, I was maybe 4 years old. And I was lying in the dark, and I was listening to my father hit my mother outside the door. And I know earlier, maybe that day, he hit me. I knew if he wanted to, he'd hit me again tomorrow. And so I prayed the way frightened children pray. And my experience was that God came to me in the dark and merged with me. That was the experience. So when I got up in the morning, the violence still went on. But when I went out, it was much better for me. Because my father, when he thought he was hitting me, he was hitting that other little boy people can see. He couldn't see the real me was taken by God into a secret place that he didn't know about. See? Later, when I became a clinical psychologist, I realized I was dissociating. And I borrowed my mother's religious imagery to give meaning to my suffering. And that's true. But that doesn't mean God did not merge with me in the dark. See? And I lived by that, and it deepened throughout my life. And it's become kind of a marker point for me. It was true. I needed to go through therapy to be as freed up as possible from the post-traumatic stress disorder that was compromising my full response. That's true. But sometimes we can still be quite wounded and be deeply sustained by God in the unfinished woundedness this way. And so that's what it was for me. Yeah.
That's a good place to insert the Jim Finley quote.
Yes.
Oh, the Jim Finley quote. Okay.
That we all put in our books.
A little drum roll, please. Okay. There you go. Okay, here we go. The God is a presence that protects us from nothing, even as God unexplainably sustains us in all things. That's the quote. See? And God depends on us to protect ourselves as best we can, as being a nonviolent, nurturing person, and to be present to the suffering, but grounded in a peace that's not dependent on the outcome of our efforts. See? Because we're grounded in the peace of God on which everything depends. Thomas Merton once said, people committed to social justice must be very careful not to be overly involved in the outcome of their effort, because by human standards it may go down in flames. He said that's not the point, really. And so that's always been an anchoring place for me when working with people in therapy and myself, and it's been helpful to me.